Hey, good day, folks. Welcome to another edition of Lumberjack Logic Live. I'm your host, Neil Johnson. So excited to be with you and share the news with you, folks. Everything these buffoons do backfires on them. The Democrats are in disarray. They're trying, well, it's really not new tactics. I shouldn't call it that. It's old tactics that they're trying all over again. And they're failing. And they're failing so badly, folks. And I've got multiple fails I'm going to show you today. But there's one in particular that's a big fail. But you need to understand just how badly these people are polling right now, just how gloomy things are looking for the Democrat Party. We're going to talk about that, show you some of these fails. And it's absolutely wild to see the news today because it's just a constant failing on their part. But before I get into that, folks, I want to say thank you so much. And please smash that like. Do chat in with where you're from. Also, Mike Lindell and his employees want to personally thank you for your continued support of MyPillow. They have a big allotment of their bed sheets that were earmarked for the box stores this spring. And you guys know this is a standard story. I mean, these box stores do these big POs and then cancel them. They did it again. The box stores didn't come through, so they're going to pass the savings on to you again. So there's no middleman. You're going to get the wholesale prices on the Giza Dream sheets, folks. Again, this is President Donald Trump's favorite product. It's my favorite product too. I don't care if you get the original Gizas or the flannels. They're both awesome. I have them both. It is absolutely one of the best products I've ever used in my life. Okay, that's not hyperbole. They just are that good. It's a long staple Egyptian cotton from the valley by the Nile. I don't know how Mike sources this stuff. It's just awesome. But here's the scoop. They're normally $139.98. Your wholesale price on that is $69.99. That's for the queen size. Kings are only $79.99. Percales, okay, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price on percale sheets right now is $29.98 for the queens, $34.98 for the kings. So go to mypillow.com/lumberjack, folks, or call the 800 number. That's 1-800-568-2865. Again, that's 1-800-568-2865. I'll put the banner up there for you. Go check it out. Go support Mike. Go get a great deal because the box stores failed again. Again, man, Mike Lindell, I mean, the guy won't quit. He's one of the most tenacious people I've ever met in my life. He's a lot of fun. I mean, and if you've ever been around him, you'll see him at events. He just is, he's there. He's available. He'll talk to everybody and anybody. He's really a great guy. So anyways, without any further ado, I want to get into this news. I'm going to start, I'm going to reorder this. I was going to start with something else. No, I am going to start with this. So here's the thing. If you guys haven't seen, there's this big story, The Atlantic, okay, the most bestest paper in the land, okay, has really come out with a barn burner of a story, okay. Have you guys seen this? The whole big kerfuffle over The Atlantic and Signal and Pete Hegseth and the military and they're outing national intelligence secrets. Oh my word, it's the end of the world. I don't ever want to hear about Hillary Clinton's emails ever again because Hegseth, Signal, Trump. Okay. Have you guys all heard this? Okay. Because they're running this all over on the news shows right now on the left, really trying to get this thing to gain traction. So I think it does some good for you to know a couple things. One is I'm going to pull in this. Okay. So there's a great follow on X. Okay. You guys can follow me on X. It's at Neil, Neil E. Johnson. Okay. Neil E. Johnson. But there's a guy on there. It goes by the handle at Maze, M-A-Z-E, More, M-O-O-R-E. And he posted this. He pulled together all these headlines from The Atlantic. So don't worry. I got a little bit more on this. We'll talk about the story. I'm going to show you just how badly this is failing for him. So in defense of naked Joe Biden, the political press is tittering over the idea that the vice president's skinny dipping and the missing real news in a forthcoming book on his Secret Service detail. Joe Biden, the most influential vice president in history. So this is collected from over the course of time. It's totally normal that Joe Biden's son works for a Ukrainian energy company. Remember, he was getting, what was he getting? $750,000. He doesn't know anything about energy. The only energy Hunter Biden knows about is the energy he gets from his Coke. Stay alive, Joe Biden. Democrats need a little more from the front runner beyond his corporal presence. Run, Joe, run. Why Democrats need a Biden candidacy. WTF, leave Biden alone. Joe Biden's dating advice for girls. So that's the best one there. What age, Joe? Anyways, this is just nuts. Biden gets China. Kenneth Times, bare-chested Biden be explained. Biden tells third graders Obama is really cool. Joe Biden, crazy like a fox. These are real headlines from this paper. So this is from Mazemore. I'm on his page right now. This is the guy. But here, you've got to hear this. So I don't know if you guys know who owns The Atlantic, who's running these stories, but it's Lawrence Powell Jobs. This is Steve Jobs' ex-wife, okay? And I'm going to blow this up a little bit. Oh, I didn't even put this in. I am so sorry. Here. Now it's in the gosh, sometimes I need a producer. All right. Now, watch this. This is wild.
It was pretty obvious to me that
she owns The Atlantic, okay? And this is Steve Jobs' ex-wife.
We build out in a very cross-disciplinary way our work in capital investing and policy and philanthropy, and we could do this work forever and ever, and we could have the narrative overtaken by someone who has a lot of power, who's completely contrary to us, and we could never get to the place where we think we're part of a more just and equal society. And so it was obvious that if we could be part of the creation of cultural narrative, that would enhance and amplify all the work that we're doing.
Which is Hillary Clinton talked about today, is telling the story, getting the content out there.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
So these are early days for us, but that's the idea behind it.
Look at Kamala, just so serious.
We want to inspire the kind of stories that we'd like to see told.
Do you ever see you buying something bigger, like the New York Times, for example?
Is it for sale?
It could be for you.
Okay, so they want to create narratives, folks. He also posted this. Remember last year when Secretary of Defense just disappeared for a few days without telling anyone? That was awesome. Luckily for Lloyd Austin, the MSM wasn't very concerned about national security at the time. They were too busy covering up Biden's mental decline. Okay, so apologize. Oh, and I'll just show you down here. This is all those headlines that I was talking about out of The Atlantic. So this is the story. And what's his name? Jeff Goldberg, I want to say, is the guy who wrote the story. And that's the same guy who has done multiple other hoaxes. He's the one that did was he the Very Fine People hoax, Goldberg? Or was he he was the Suckers and Losers hoax. It was that guy who did the story about how, Trump, Suckers and Losers. Again, they never actually have sources for their stuff. It's always anonymous sources. Okay, so this is the story they're running. And Scott Jennings did a good job dismantling that, but I want you to watch this. This is how bad things are for the Democrats right now. I want you to watch these polling numbers. And I love this guy on CNN who does the polls because he always gets so dramatic and stuff. I mean, it's just hilarious to me. But the Democrats are really imploding. And their hope is that this Atlantic story will turn this around. Watch this.
I think sometimes it's important to do a little bit of reality check and take a little different spin at the numbers. I'm going to do that right here because all we talk about is how unpopular Donald Trump is. But in reality, he's basically more popular than he was at any point in term number one and more popular than he was when he won election back in November of 2024. What are we talking about? His net favorable rating right now comes in at -4 points. Compare that to where he was when he won.
Okay, now, folks, I want you to just take these numbers with a grain of salt. This is CNN. This is their polling. I can show you in Rasmussen, Donald Trump is still a net positive. I can show you in other polls, Donald Trump still being a net positive. So you don't need to, worry that, oh gosh, Neil's just believing all CNN polls or anything like that. The point is the trend line, because they're pulling these whacked samples, but look at the trend line and look at what this says and what they're forced to admit.
In November of 2024 when he was at -7 points, or March of 2017 when he was at -10 points. So when you compare Trump against himself, he's actually closer to the apex than he is to the bottom of the trough. And of course, that's so important because Donald Trump, historically speaking, has had his numbers underestimated. So I think it's very important to...
Okay, he makes a great point. Underwater, and this is the apex. And I love how the guy just animates. But here's the thing. Donald Trump has consistently had his numbers. Who did they tell us was going to win 2016? Who did they tell us was going to win 2024? Who did they tell us won 2020? But let's go to 2024 here. They vastly underestimated. They said that Donald Trump was going to lose the popular vote by a margin outside of the polling's margin of errors. They told you that Kamala Harris was going to win a number of these swing states. And none of that happened in spite of everything they did. And so Donald Trump's numbers are consistently underestimated in these polls. So that's a huge point as you're watching this.
Compare him to himself to understand he's actually more popular now than he was when he won, or certainly where he was at this point back in his first term. The bottom line is Trump is more towards the ceiling than he is towards the floor.
So when you do that, it makes my knees hurt. So when you look at this compared to sort of historically, what does it tell you about the percentage of folks that think the country itself, with him at the helm, is on the right track?
This, I think, is rather important because, again, if the polls have historically underestimated Donald Trump, what is a metric that might get at understanding at how popular he may actually be? So let's take a look at the percentage of the country who say that we're on the right track. It's actually a very high percentage when you...
Okay, so this is wild, folks, because right track, wrong track has been a key indicator in presidential elections, if you look at it. And I'm going to get a poll of my audience here. So this is NBC and Marist, okay? And he's going to explain these numbers, but I want you to, in the chat, how many of you I want right track or wrong track? How many of you think the country is now on the right track versus the wrong track? I'm going to do an informal poll while this is playing.
Compare it to some historical numbers. What are we talking about? According to Marist, 45% say that we're on the right track. That's the second highest that Marist has measured since 2009. How about NBC News? 44%. That's the highest since 2004. Wow. The bottom line is the percentage of Americans who say we're on the right track is through the roof. And if you were to compare it to when presidents have historically been reelected, of course, Trump is not constitutionally eligible to run for re-election, but I think it sort of puts it in perspective. 42% of the country says the country is on the right track when the incumbent party is re-elected. And also keep in mind, back when Kamala Harris lost and the Democrats were turned out of power, only about 27 to 28% of the country said the country is on the right track. The bottom line is right now, a much higher percentage of the country says we're on the right track. And finally, Sarah Seidner, I want to put it all in the congressional generic ballot.
What about Congress? No.
What about Congress? Because those are the folks who are up in 2026. And take a look here. The Dems versus the Republicans on the generic congressional ballot. Back in November of 2020, when Democrats won, it was +5 Democrats. Tied in November of 2022, +1 in November of 2024 when Republicans maintain control. And then you look at March of 2025. This number looks a lot more like 2022 or 2024 when Republicans won control of Congress. The bottom line is, yes, Donald Trump's approval rating is lower than compared to a lot of his predecessors, but it's higher than compared to himself. A lot of folks say the country's on the right track, and the generic congressional ballot looks a heck of a lot more like when Republicans win than when Democrats win.
It will be interesting to see if any of what just happened with these leaking of the text plays into it in a later poll. But this is very telling.
This is very telling. At least at this point, Republicans are still in the catbird seat.
Okay, so did you catch what she said at the end there, talking about text leaks? First off, it's not text. It was done on Signal. It was a Signal chat. And it was done through the Atlantic. Again, the mainstream media has parroted the Atlantic talking points. Now, something you should know, if anything is reported by this Goldberg character at the Atlantic or the Atlantic in general, it needs to be double, triple verified, okay? And they should know that at this point, the mainstream media, but instead they just run with it. The reality is things are not everything they seem. So did this guy get a hold of it? Yes. So, I mean, the White House has said that, obviously this guy got it. There's no top secret information in this, folks. And I'm going to share a little piece by Scott Jennings, which is going to explain this well. Scott Jennings is the highlight of CNN. And in fact, the only thing I watch of CNN every day is Scott Jennings clips. The guy is a wizard at taking these people down. How many of you have watched Scott Jennings on CNN and appreciate that? Curious about that as well, if you know who he is. But here he is.
All right. Moments ago, Caitlin Collins was reporting on her show, Scott, that there is shock inside the White House that this chat was texted to Jeffrey Goldberg. Are you shocked?
Well, sure. I mean, it's a shocking thing, and they've admitted that it was a mistake and admitted that it's authentic. So they're owning up to it. I think they're still, based on what I've heard tonight, trying to figure out how it happened. I'm not sure the National Security Advisor Walls even knows Goldberg. In fact, I don't believe he knows him and has never met him. I did learn a few things in some of my conversations, if you're interested. One is that the Signal program was preloaded on a number of devices and agency computers in this circuit when they got there. So in their view, it was already in use. Number two, in some of the messages, they talk about needing to go to the high side computers, which is the classified system. So they clearly were knowing there was a line on what you could discuss in a chat like this versus classified system.
Okay, so you guys catch that? So let's just, this whole argument that I have seen, I'm going to just pull this off for a second. This whole argument that I've seen talking about, well, I don't want to hear anything more about Hillary Clinton's emails. Hillary Clinton actually had classified information, okay? This is a Signal chat. Again, Scott Jennings just explained they knew that there was a line if they were going to discuss classified information. This is about the attack on the Houthis. It's really, I mean, we all kind of know this stuff's going on anyways.
Number three, there is a dispute over whether the term war plans is being exaggerated. And number four, look, I love the policy. It's well executed. You've got a thoughtful policy discussion going on. And we did what the Biden administration would not do, stop these people from harassing our shipping lanes and our boats and our Navy. So good on the Trump administration for reversing a bad policy.
So a wild triumph. And I will note that Pete Hegseth does not agree with you.
Okay, so this folks, is, the foolishness of the left, that they think that this story is it. This is their, they got him by the balls now, right? In the meantime, we're looking at news like this, folks. This is investment pledges from countries and companies in the United States right now. This is all since Trump took office. United Arab Emirates, 1.4 trillion. Saudi Arabia, 600 billion. Hyundai, 20 billion. Apple, 500 billion. Nvidia, over 100 billion. SoftBank, OpenAI, Oracle, 100 billion. Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, 100 billion. Johnson & Johnson, 55 billion. CMA CGM Group, 20 billion. Eli Lilly, 27 billion. Merck, 1 billion. GE Aerospace, 1 billion. Again, okay. Yeah, I saw this too. I'm going to just bring this. Yes, Radcliffe said the CIA told him Signal was approved to use. Protocol was followed. Again, yeah, I mean, all this. I mean, there's so many things I could point out in this story, but the bottom line is the Democrats don't have a leg to stand on. And instead, we're looking at things like this. And that's why, going back to those poll numbers, Trump's approval has never been higher. That's why more people believe that the country is on the right track. It's like this. Look at this. Josh Shapiro, you guys know, from Pennsylvania, the governor of Pennsylvania. He said, honored to join this conversation with President Zelensky and this bipartisan group of governors from across the country. They probably have one Republican in there, and it's probably from New Hampshire, home of Rhino Republicans. Okay. We stand with Ukraine and defend their freedom and way of life. So what's happening here now is Shapiro and other governors now going to spend state money and send that over to Zelensky. That ought to be a winning argument there with their home crowd. This is another thing the Democrats are doing. So this guy, how many of you guys know who Robert Garcia is? He's doing a congressional town hall. He's California 40. He says the screwiest things. I see his clips every once in a while. So they're doing a town hall. He's also very anti. Oh, hey, I got a super chat here. Hey, thank you so much, Ken. I saw that. Keep the information coming. I will. Where did that go? I wanted to just bring that into the stream, but I can't even find it on here. I just see the little notification up at the top. But anyhow, cool to get a super chat. Thank you so much. No better friend, no worse enemy. Again, thank you so much. But Robert Garcia has been very opposed to voter identification, voter ID laws. So let's see what do you guys, let me just, before I bring in the news here from the website where you can register for this, what do you think Rep. Garcia might be requiring to go to the town hall? What do you think they might be requiring? Just curious if anybody gets it. Yeah, Ken, that was very nice. Thank you. See if there's any guesses here before I bring it in. All right, I'm just going to bring it in. Photo ID, everybody. Okay, there we go. People are getting it. Photo ID, here it is. Location, RSVP required to receive location. Important information, bring a valid picture ID for entry. No backpacks, weapons, signs, posters allowed. So you can't go in there without a valid picture ID, but you can vote. Now, do you folks think going to Robert Garcia's town hall or voting is a greater act of something that would need security, that would need a photo ID? Because I'm thinking it's voting that we should have the photo ID at. Okay, to show you again how much they're losing, you guys all know Judge Boasberg. Talked about him yesterday as Trump's outplaying him. Well, here's his response. The court need not resolve. So this is Boasberg's response here to President Trump. The court need not resolve any thorny question of whether the judiciary has the ability to assess this claim in the first place. Okay. Or right. Here's the scoop. The court does actually need to resolve that. That is because plaintiffs are likely to succeed on another equally fundamental theory. Before they may be deported, they are entitled to individualized hearings to determine whether the act applies to them at all. So, interestingly, Judge Boasberg in this, if you note here, determine whether the act applies to them at all. He has basically given validity to the Aliens Act that Trump utilized. As the government itself concedes, the awesome power granted by the act may be brought to bear only on those who are in fact alien enemies. Okay. Of course, people in my audience, and I'm sure most Americans, are very excited to get Tren de Aragua gang members out and would consider them enemies. And the Supreme Court and this circuit have long maintained that federal courts are equipped to adjudicate that question when individuals threatened with detention and removal challenge their designation as such. Because the named plaintiffs dispute that they are members of Tren de Aragua, of course, every gang member is going to say, oh, we're not members of Tren de Aragua. I mean, this is so silly. Furthermore, why should we have to tie up our court systems, use our tax dollars to pay for foreign nationals who have entered our country illegally? They are here illegally. I don't even care if they're members of Tren de Aragua. Just get them the heck out of here. The fact is that they are, okay, and they need to be sent home. They may not be deported until a court has been able to decide the merits of their challenge. Oh, yes, they can. They're not here legally. How many times do I need to say this? They're not here legally. Did you know, for all the Democrats saying that, well, are they committing crimes? They committed a crime by coming into this country, because that, by definition, being here illegally means that they have broken the law. This is so simple. Anyways, nor may any members of the provisionally certified class be removed until they have been given the opportunity to challenge their designations as well. The motion to vacate will thus be denied. This is going to become, folks, a legal dispute of just filing papers, and the judge isn't going to get his way. I can just tell you right now, it's not going to happen. Not going to happen. I mean, Trump's not going to go fly these people back so they can stand trial in the United States. That's not how this is going to work. Okay. Everybody in America, 80-20 on this, just like men and women's sports. This is why the Democrats are losing. This is why the Democrats are running approval ratings in the 20s and Republicans are running approval ratings in the 40s. Do you know that historically, I mean, as long as I follow politics, the Democrats have typically been able to maintain a better image than Republicans. With their help of the mainstream media, they've been able to do that. That's real. Okay. I know some people, no, it's not real. It's real. Okay. But not anymore. Not anymore. Because you people are listening to shows like mine and others, and other people are listening to other shows as well. In fact, I ran into the other day, I took my kids skiing at a place up here, Giants Ridge in northern Minnesota. This would be yesterday, right? Yes, yesterday was Monday. Anyways, yesterday I took them all skiing and we had a blast. Okay. But I was riding up the ski lift because I'd beat all the kids down and I was just going to go up again. But this 14-year-old girl, she was going solo. So we jumped in the ski lift together and I got to talking with her. And folks, guess what she listens to on YouTube? Because I get to talking with her and she's talking about YouTube. And I said, I actually have a YouTube channel. She goes, really? And I go, yeah. I said, but it's conservative political commentary. You probably wouldn't be interested in it. I don't think a 14-year-old girl is going to want to listen to my commentary, right? And she goes, well, that's what I listen to. She listens to conservative stuff. So she likes Matt Walsh. And I said, no way. I said, oh, you'll like my stuff. And so anyways, I told her what the channel was and everything. But, because I met Matt Walsh and I talked to his producer at the RNC. I didn't meet Matt Walsh there. I met his producer there. And we are going to, we've communicated. She's open to having Matt on the show. So anyways, these are just the things. And people out there are getting their information from different sources. That's my point. And young people are getting their information from different sources. So it's a different day and age. They don't control the narrative as much as they used to. And so now, and especially with the Democrats taking the wrong side on these major issues, and then now firebombing Tesla dealerships, none of that's working well for them, folks. It's just never will. I mean, that's just a reality. I mean, the majority of Americans, middle America, isn't excited about you firebombing Tesla dealerships. That's just it's not something middle America is excited about. So anyways, do want to mention again, folks, huge deal on the sheets over at MyPillow, a box store cancellation again with Mike Lindell. He deals with that stuff all the time. But there's no middleman. You're going to get the wholesale prices on the Giza Dreams and Percale bed sheets. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Folks, I'm telling you, it's Donald Trump's favorite product. You want to sleep like a president? You want to sleep like Donald Trump? Get yourself some Giza sheets. They're the greatest ever of all time. Hands down, bar none. I never even knew sheets were a thing. Normally $139.98. Your wholesale price $69.99. King size is only $79.99. The Percale sheets, normally $89.98. Wholesale price $29.98. King size $34.98. So go to mypillow.com/lumberjack, or my favorite way to order is always the 800 number, 1-800-568-2865. Again, that's 1-800-568-2865. Those operators are working from their homes. They're standing by, ready to take your call and get you the best deal on the best sheets available. And he's got all kinds of products. Folks, he's got shirts, he's got pajamas, he's got slippers, he's got robes, he's got the best towels. Seriously, get some of those towels. They're the best. Absorbent, they work like a charm. So go over to mypillow.com/lumberjack or call the 800 number on your screen and get some of Mike Lindell's products. Folks, thank you so much for listening to another episode of Lumberjack Logic. I've got 3 birthdays in a row. I've got to run into town here and do some things with one of my kids so they can get birthday presents for their siblings. We have a birthday trifecta, folks. Literally 3 days in a row of birthdays with my kids, and it's just always a blast. So, and I get fat because, or I could, but I'm not yet. But literally having it's pie. All of them wanted pie. So we got strawberry rhubarb pie, apple pie, and peach pie. Homemade pie 3 days in a row. It's ridiculous. Anyways, hey, thanks, Dan. Thanks for, obviously, if you only hit the like once, because if you hit it again, then the like doesn't register. All right. See you on the next episode, folks. Peace out. All right. Love y'all.